a filmmaker, director and artist born in Rome, Italy. His name is Simone di Bagno, a former award-winning producer at United Nations Television in New York City. From 1975 to 1995, Simone followed his passion, making films which he believed raised awareness about the struggle of some of the world's most vulnerable populations.
Oh, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I participated, I could be the best of what I could be. Totally selfless, totally dedicated. My clients were the homeless, the refugees, the Palestinians, the women, that was the thing, complete. So he gave me the opportunity to be more than what I probably would have been.
Producing films had its own share of problems, as member states sometimes objected to the storyline.
The plight of the millions of homeless people in the world today is an undeniable fact of life.
Pressure from the United States on the homeless film was pretty strong, but at the same time that type of pressure comes from many other places. I made a film on the Palestinians called The Palestinian Portraits, which was actually an explanation of who the Palestinians really were, where they were coming from. So in the 80s, I wanted it to be shown to the United States or to Europe, to the West in particular, to explain they were not just terrorists or refugees. But then I got pressure from the PLO, who said, no, this is no good, it's too soft.
Leaving the UN gave Simone time to become a true advocate for its goals. He paints and uses his artwork to bring the story of the organization to children.
One of the great things I made after leaving the UN, I made a little book of drawings called Nations Are Us, which explains the Security Council to children.
On the celebration of World TV Day, in his view, television, or the moving image, still plays a critical role in a rapidly changing world.
The crew was 4 or 5 people, was 16 millimeter. We were carrying 12 cases of equipment. You could shoot only 11 minutes at a time and then reload. So, the whole thing, considering today and the video stuff.
Actually, that trip is the last film trip we did before we transitioned to video the next year. The type of cameras we used, that particular trip was a German camera, an ARRI camera. The predecessor to that was a camera called an Eclair camera by a French manufacturer, also a similar kind of magazine that loaded in that style. Simone had a unique attribute than any of the other producers. He didn't like to have a lot of words in his documentaries. And for me, as a sound person, it was perfect because I liked getting really good sound. So one of the things he liked to do was avoid very long texts in his documentaries. So he wanted the picture to tell the story. And he was very good with that.
The moving images is very important, of course, because we all watch TV, we all look at movies, So we were, in a way, the vehicle for making, for expressing the solution presented by the world. And sometimes country would follow them, sometimes only cities.
One film that he felt passionately about but never had the opportunity to produce during his career at the World Body was the plight of the Karen people of Burma, now officially called Myanmar.
So I did this thing on Burma in '92, then '97, and then came the usual festivals and stuff. And I don't know how much impact it had, but definitely then we won, right? Like with Namibia. These are the things that when you fight for things that are impossible, as I said, I inherited from people who say it'll never happen, kind of thing. And it happens. Of course, all the others didn't happen, you know, Middle East. So, but the few that happen, at least gives you a little satisfaction. You know, that you contributed a little bit. So that was Burma. That I did it on my own, and I used all the money that I got from the UN when I left.
Free-spirited, he spends much of his time on this boat, docked on the waters of New York's Hudson River, reflecting on his next film.
It's kind of a meditation, I think, of sorts. And it's the fact of being close to water, to nature. We're in the park with all the ducks and the geese. You feel part of a certain harmony.